Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to talk about Selvala. Now, the Elf Scouts, 3 mana for a 2/4 is not bad. The parlay is decent. You can get you some mana, but the one thing that really makes this card interesting is the fact that the parlay mechanic itself is that you draw the card. Each player draws the card, which makes it sound like an upside, but for this specific card, it's actually a downside. Because if you could repeatedly tap to produce her for a ton of mana, it would be a little broken. But since the top cards are going to change every time you use the ability, repeating it is not that big of a deal. But anyway, she is an elf, so there is a slight elf package in here. In, of course, the form of we have the Mystic, the Llanowar, Findhorn Elves, the Essence Warden. Now, I promise you, this is not an all-elf deck, but there is a dominant elf theme. Thornwield Archer is just good old-fashioned beats, because, I mean, Death Touch and Reach. Well-Wishers gain you a little bit of that life. I am running a strong Selesyna theme. There's a lot of white-green in here, which kind of explains the Llanowar Knight. I mean, I do love the fact that he is pro-black, so that's pretty sweet. Of course, with any number of elves, Jagged Scar is pretty good. Is my light just extra bright today, or... Oh, these are matte sleeves. That's what I guess it is. Elvish Champion. More for the 1/1 than for the Forest Walk, obviously. Imperious Perfect. She has babies that are as big as she is, so that's cool. Immaculate Magistrate. The buy one, get one free sale. You play an elf, you get an elf. Dwyn. The Wirewood Channeler. Voice of the Woods. And of course, all elves got to double up to go to the prom. Now, Azuri. I want to talk about Azuri for just a moment, because Azuri, something's happening with this guy. If y'all have been paying attention to, spoilerish kind of things, Elves versus Artificiers, yeah, I know, right, is the last dual decks. And they show us a Goblin Welder with new art. Of course, it's Fallen art. And the other side is blacked out. We cannot see the elf card. But they told us it's this guy. So if he's got new art, well, something's up. Either they're changing something about Azuri, or something about legendary creatures. They're changing something here. We just don't know what. But that supposedly will be the last dual decks until they decide to not make it the last one. I don't know. But anyway, Azuri's a good card. You produce a lot of mana. Elves get ridiculous. That's just the way it works. So speaking of a lot of mana, of course, the Elvish Archdruid and Priest of Titania. Now, if you can get them a tap-in for, more than 3 mana, and you throw the Umbra Mantle on them, things get out of hand quickly. Because then you generate infinite green mana. Let's get to the creatures that are not elves. Because, as I said, it's not an elf deck. What are we going to do with all that infinite mana? Well, we're probably going to swing with a really big guy, or we're going to swing with a whole bunch of guys, or the permanently big guy, Hero's Bane. There are a ton of creatures, so that's why I'm running Karametra, and she kind of fits the whole Selesyna deal. So, we got the Soul of Zendikar. I don't really run him a lot, because 5 mana for an elephant or a beast, whatever, 3/3 green token, doesn't excite me in any way, but the ability to repeatedly do it kind of does. Using that good old Felidar Sovereign, maybe one of these days I'll get a win off of him. Wayfaring Temple. Dulcimere. I mean, hey, he's an elf. He makes things bigger, and he makes a token. Is this the most Selesyna card ever made? I mean, um, Acidic Slime. Loxodon Hierarch is hopefully going to protect you from a board wipe, as long as it does not say they cannot regen. Karametra's Acolyte would have really loved to have been an elf, but I guess then it would have been too broken. Advent of the Worm. You know, 5/5 for 4. That's, I consider it a creature. Miss Tantress here. You know, hey, we got a few tokens. We got our Fleetfoot Panther that has Flash, so he can come down and save any of your creatures from spot removal, and that's really why he's in there. It's not a, a janky infinite loop like I normally do. We have the Loxodon Smiter, and then last creature, we of course have the Ancient Spider. Now, Ancient Spider, this is what a rare used to look like, guys. I mean, 4 mana, 2/5 first strike reach. Pretty sure that's not a rare card anymore. Yeah. Uh, don't have a whole lot of ramp per se, simply because of the elves, but I do have color fixing because, as y'all can see, the creature base is way skewed toward green. So producing both colors was kind of a requirement for my 5 pieces of color fixing. Now, I don't have these in any particular order. We're just going to plow through them. Oblivion Ring, decent spot removal. It's not amazing. Creeping Mold, though, I've more and more been leaning into this card because, yes, artifacts and enchantments are a problem, but you know what? So can some lands be. Especially with, here we are in Ixalan with all these cards that flip over into these powerful lands. Of course, we've always had powerful lands. Maze of Ith can ruin games. If stealing is kind of your thing, Homeward Path can ruin a deck. So, Creeping Mole, definitely getting more play from me anyway. We got Whirlwind to kill all the ADD things, angels, demons, and dragons, amongst other things. Harmonize, probably one of the better mana for cards in green. Oh, wait. It's the only mana for cards in green. Now, Sundering Growth, I'm running Sundering Growth instead of Disenchant because we do have a few token makers, you know, and if we can get one off for the same relative, in this deck, the same casting cost, we got our Congregation at Dawn that's going to tutor us up some dudes. And you know what? The lesser used Altar of the Bone is also, I mean, yeah, you sack a dude. Odds are we're going to sack a token something and go looking for that one card that we need. Maybe you already have the Umber Mantle in hand or on board, and you need one of the elves that produce Mega Mana. So to get your engine a going. The Unflinching Courage is a reworded Armadillo Cloak, which I'm, not playing, but I am playing the Armadillo Sledge. I really, really wish that they had named it Armadillo Sledge. I think they missed the boat here on the naming, but it's what if. Celestia Charm offers us some options. Let's see if we can get this glare off. I don't know what the deal is, or lack of. Collective Blessing. Now, this, if you're playing Celestia, oh man, it's, for me anyway, it's hard to not use this card if you're in white green because a permanent giant growth is just a thing to be reckoned with. Of course, the overrun is the temporary giant growth, and trample. It's so good they don't make it anymore. Now, Harrow and Ranger's Path is the only kind of, you know, mana search that we've got. Um, Dictative Karametra is honestly on the chopping block because the deck don't need it. Really doesn't. So it's as soon as I find something that piques my interest a little more, maybe I will. You know what? I just looked over at a stack of cards and I think I just found something that piques my interest a little more. Let's take out good old Dictative Karametra and let's put in a douchebaggier card, Triumph of the Hordes, because, you know, it's Triumph of the Hordes. We're playing a lot of creatures, and that's a thing. I mean, you know, what they say about infect, you hold your breath and count to 10. Yeah. Hymn of Rebirth is a beautiful card that I think is underappreciated because it gets a creature from anybody's yard. So that's a really, really good thing is if you can whirlwind away their whatever a chroma and then bring it back to your side. We've got a Praetor's Council because it is the, yeah, it's 8 mana, but it's not really a thing with this deck. We've got mana. That's not our problem. No max hand size and play with all the dead things is really sweet. Now, granted, you're not going to power this out on turn 3 or 4. This is a turn 10 bomb when your bin is full. Now, Fraelis's Fury just makes Llanowar Elves, and that's really all I can see her doing in this deck ever. I mean, if something's hurting bad enough, you may -2 her, but now the last two cards, we do have quite a bit of mana production creatures, so that is why Storm Cauldron. Now, Storm Cauldron is kind of one of those cards that, you know, tends to lose friends or whatever, but this is a deck where you're going to come out early and your creatures are a large portion of your mana base. And what little artifacts you've got, of course. Now, Storm Cauldron is going to put your opponents off their game. It will actually, I mean, it'll set you back a little bit, but you can work around this because of your mana/creature base. However, this is going to be rough for a big mana dragon or whatever deck to do. Oh my gosh. I don't know how Zakama overcomes this card. I mean, it has to kill it, but once Zakama hits play, you got to start over from 0 lands just about. Anyway, the similar card that this is to is, of course, Geddon. Now, I've been running Geddon in more and more decks. I think I've got it in like 6 or 7. I don't know, maybe 12. Who knows? Got it in a bunch. It is a card that does tend to bring the hate in that game and successive games. People remember Armageddons. It will cross into the next game. Um, Land-wise, playing 37, I think, is what I counted. The only thing that's really kind of different is, of course, Grove of the Guardian, because that 8/8 dude seems good, especially, you know, we have a few populate cards. Man, the Crozen Verge, if you're playing Selesyna, you're probably playing a Crozen Verge simply because it is amazing. It is a Terramorphic that comes into play tapped, but it gets you 2. Gets you 2 lands, so that's pretty sweet. Of course, the V2 Ghazi, being able to crank out blockers and whatnot. Y'all know I'm running that Rogue's Passage, and everything else is just good old-fashioned mana lands and stuff. Well, I do appreciate you watching. Y'all let me know what you think, but it's It's getting early. I think right now it's time to get ready to go to work. So I'm going to shuffle and cut.